Okay, so yesterday we have seen that the metal or the matter has a dual behavior. The dual behavior of matter is understood by the understanding of the um, dual behavior of electron. So matter can behave like a particle. Matter can behave like a wave. But then the question arises, then when the matter behave like a wave. So when a particle or when a matter is moving in the motion, it behaves like a wave. At the same time, when a matter is moving, uh, when a matter is not moving, it behave like a particle. Then we have seen that if we have a ball of 0.1 kg mass, that is the mass of 100 gram, and then if it is moving, then we can calculate its wavelength. When we calculate the wavelength, we find that the wavelength calculated for a particular mass is very small. Very small, it shows that it is insignificant. The value is very, very small, which is not having any meaning. So when you have mass very much or mass in kgs, then you have the wavelength that is obtained for that particular matter is very small, which is insignificant, or we cannot detect it with the detectors. And that is why for mass in kgs and grams, the meaning of wavelength become meaningless. Ultimately, what happens that we do not consider their wavelength much. But particles like electron, whose mass is in the order of 10 to the power minus 31 kg, they have a particular wavelength when they are moving, and that is why we can say that the particle or the matter behave like a wave as well as the particle. And particulate behavior and wave behavior are both possible or both seen for the matter which is having a very small mass. Then we came to know about the another principle which is known as the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Heisenberg says that we cannot measure the position as well as the momentum. Momentum is equal to mass into velocity. So we can say even that we cannot determine exactly the position as well as the velocity of a particular particle when it is in motion, and there will be always some uncertainty in deciding or describing the position as well as velocity. As the position as well as velocity of a particle cannot be determined simultaneously, what happens that there are some uncertainties. So Heisenberg says that we can calculate their uncertainties, and Heisenberg calculated all those uncertainties, and he found that these into the um, uncertainties into the calculation of uncertainties into the calculation of a position as well as velocity would always be the uncertainties into the position as well as velocity would always be greater than or equal to h upon 4 pi. So we will always have velocity as well as position. If we determine, then these uncertainties must be always greater than or equal to h upon 4 pi. This is what it is known as the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. As we have studied the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, what do we conclude? Let us look at the screen now. So please look at uh, screen. We have even tried to understand that how we have even tried to understand that with the example that we cannot measure the thickness of a paper who is very thickness is very small, and we want to measure it with the scale which is having only meter marks. So the scale does not have centimeter mark or millimeter mark, and that is why we cannot correctly measure the thickness of that particular paper. So you can see on the screen that you would never be able to measure the thickness of paper correctly with such meter stick. Now we can move on. So what do we conclude from all this? We can easily conclude, my dear students, that that to measure some quantity, we should have a device which must be calibrated with small units or smaller dimensions than the units in which we want to measure the quantity. As far as electron is concerned, electron is considered as a point charge. To locate it, to determine its position where the electron is present, we must incident some light on it so that we come to know about its position. But the light we use to see or illuminate electron has some wavelength, and thus momentum P is equal to h upon lambda. So the light we use locate or determine the position of the particle or position of the electron would be collide. This light will collide with the electron and would change its velocity. So we would be able to locate or determine the position of the electron, but we would not be able to know the velocity of electron before collision between light and electron. So बच्चों यहाँ पे ये बताने का ट्राई किया गया है कि जब हम इलेक्ट्रॉन को देखना चाहते हैं तो उस वक्त जब हम इलेक्ट्रॉन को देखने के लिए उस पर लाइट डालते हैं तो वो लाइट की एनर्जी की वजह से ये जो इलेक्ट्रॉन है उसकी वेलोसिटी चेंज हो जाती है। तो हम जब उसको देखते हैं तो वो कहाँ पे है वो तो हम समझ पाते हैं, पर हम जो है वो उसकी वेलोसिटी क्योंकि वो चेंज हो गई है उसको हम नहीं कैलकुलेट कर पाते और अनसर्टेनिटीज बच जाती है। सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ अनसर्टेनिटी प्रिंसिपल, तो क्या मतलब होता है ये अनसर्टेनिटी प्रिंसिपल का और उससे हमें क्या जानने को मिलता है। वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इम्प्लीकेशन of uncertainty principle is that we understand we cannot determine the trajectory or definite path for electron and other particles. See, we cannot determine the exact path. So whatever the path we decide for electron, it should be based on the probability, or we can say that it may possible that the electron move from this direction or from this path, but we cannot be certain. So our all measurements become probable, because trajectory or path is determined by knowing the position as well as the velocity. Trajectory or path is determined by knowing the position as well as velocity of particle as well as their forces of action on particle. But according to uncertainty principle, my dear students, we cannot determine the position as well as the velocity of particle certainly and simultaneously. So we cannot determine the trajectory or path of the electron. The effect of Heisenberg uncertainty principle, it's significant only for motion of microscopic objects and negligible for that of macroscopic objects. Now, what is the meaning of microscopic and macroscopic? Microscopic means having the diameter or having the volume or having the size less than 10 to the power minus 6 meter. So if the particle is having the size less than 10 to the power minus 6 meter, it is called microscopic. Or else if it is having the size more than 10 to the power, if it is having the size more than 10 to the power minus 6 meter, it will be considered as a macroscopic object. If uncertainty principle is applied to an object of mass milligram, then suppose we want to measure the uncertainty for the mass of 10 to the power minus 6 kg. So delta V into delta X is equal to H upon 4 pi m. This is the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle formula. By putting all this value, we get 10 to the power minus 28 meter square per second. The value of uncertainty, that is delta V into delta X, obtained is extremely small and insignificant. in in dealing with milligram sized or heavier object, the associated uncertainties are hardly of any real consequences. So even if the mass is present in milligram, my dear students, the uncertainty is of no meaning. So in case of microscopic objects such as electron, mass, the mass of electron is 9 into 10, 9.11 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. We can calculate the uncertainty. So delta V into delta X, X is 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34, 4 pi is 3.14, and mass of electron, that is 9.11 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. Ultimately, we get 10 to the power minus 4 meters square per second. So, suppose the uncertainty into the position would be 10 to the power minus 8 meter, means on one tries to find exact location of the electron to an uncertainty of only 10 to the power minus 8 meter. Uncertainty in velocity would be 10 to the power 4 meter per second. That means uncertainty is large. So we cannot say that electron moves in a fixed orbit. We cannot determine fixed path for electron, and therefore precise statement of position and momentum has to be replaced by the statement of probability. So my dear students, now onwards, whatever we say about the position as well as the velocity of an electron, we cannot say it precisely, we cannot say it is like this, but we would always use the word probable conditions or probability for such statements. We can determine the probable movement or probable position or probable velocity, thus probable path of electron. This is what it is done in the new model that we are going to study. So now whatever the new model we are going to study about the structure of atom, in that we would always think of the possibility about the electron. Now what were the reasons for the failure of Bohr's model? The wave character of electron is not considered into the Bohr model. Bohr model ignores the dual behavior of matter, as well as it contradicts with the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And that is why, my dear students, the Bohr model was not considered to be the correct. To understand the structure of atom, we need to study another model called quantum mechanical model. So now we are going to study about the new model for the structure of atom, and that model is considered as a quantum mechanical model. So now we shall study about the quantum mechanical model, my dear students. The branch, what is quantum mechanics? Quantum mechanics is the branch of science that takes into account the dual behavior of matter, is called quantum mechanics. So in quantum mechanics, all the aspects of matter are studied by considering it as a dual behavior. Number one, wave behavior, and number two, the particulate behavior. What is the meaning of macroscopic materials? So those materials which have size bigger than 10 to the power minus 6 meter or 1 micrometer are called macroscopic materials. Macroscopic materials can be seen with the naked eyes. Now what is microscopic materials or microscopic matter or microscopic objects? Those particles with a size less than 10 to the power minus 6 meter are called microscopic matter or microscopic particles, and microscopic matter cannot be seen with the naked eye. Our eye does not have capability to watch those particles which are having size less than 1 micron. Macroscopic matter follow the laws of motion given by the Newton. Microscopic matter follows the dual behavior of matter. So remember, for macroscopic particles, we use the laws of motion which were given by Newton. That laws were considered into the classical physics, but now we have to study about the microscopic particle, and microscopic particle is studied under the quantum mechanics, and that follows the laws which are related to dual behavior of matter. And establishment of quantum mechanical law from them. So it always follows the quantum mechanical laws. When quantum mechanics is applied to macroscopic materials, the results are same as the laws of classical mechanics. So whenever we have, or whenever we want to apply the laws of motion for a, or laws of quantum mechanics for a microscopic material or for a macroscopic material, the results are almost the same as the Newton's law. So these things, if we apply the dual behavior for macroscopic particles, it has no meaning, and Newton's law are correct for them, or classical physics is correct for them. But laws of classical mechanics are not all true for quantum mechanics. So if the particle is microscopic, then the Newton's law or then the laws of classical physics are not applied or cannot be applied to those small particles because they follow the dual behavior. Quantum mechanics is developed by the scientists Werner as well as the Werner Heisenberg and Erwin Schrödinger. So these two were the scientists who developed the new branch of science which is known as the quantum mechanics. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle we have seen. Now we are going to study about the work of Schrödinger. So let us understand the work of Schrödinger. Schrödinger was the scientist who calculated probability to find the electron in 1 centimeter volume. You can see here, my dear students, in this figure I have shown you the green colored box. This green colored box is 1 cubic centimeter, and we want to find out the probability of finding electron in that particular region or in 1 centimeter cube. To calculate the probability to find the electron in 1 centimeter cube volume, as shown in the green cube of 1 centimeter cube, Schrödinger gave one equation. So, you know, we want to find the coordinates, then we will use the three-dimensional geometry. And by using the three-dimensional geometry, there was a mathematical equation established by our scientist Schrödinger, and he gave this equation, which is known as the Schrödinger's equation. At present, we will have to accept this equation, but I will try to explain you all the various terms given into this equation. The equation can be read as delta square psi by del x square, del square psi by del y square, del square psi by del z square, plus 8 pi square m upon h square, E minus V psi is equal to 0. Now, suppose if we take psi common, or if it moves psi outside, then it would be del square by dx square plus del square by dy square plus del square by dz square psi is equal to minus 8 pi square m upon h square into the bracket E minus V psi. Here from the this term 8 pi square h square E minus V psi, we have taken the right side is equal to, and that is why we put the negative sign before it. Now let us understand each term. What is this symbol, like, you know, Trishul of Shivji is look like? You know, this symbol of Trishul of Shivji is known as, or is read as psi. This psi represents the wave function for electron. We will come to know what is the meaning of the wave function for electron into the next discussion, but at present you can consider it as a psi, and it represents the wave function of electron. Wave function represents the probability to find the electron at a certain point in an atom. Psi square, let us take the positive square of psi. Psi square represents the electron density or probability density, and probability of finding electron in a unit area can be represented by psi square. Now let us understand the other terms. Del square psi by dx square will show us the probability to find the electron in x direction. Del square psi by dy square will represent the probability to find the electron in y direction. Del square psi by dz square will represent the probability to find electron in z direction, my dear students. So this is how we can understand. Collectively we write it del square psi by dx square plus del square psi by dy square plus del square psi by dz square. that is del square by dx square plus d square by dy square plus d square by dz square psi, which is represented as the del psi or h psi. Here what is the inverse del, where inverse del is called the Laplacian operator or h is called the Hamiltonian operators. My dear students, the value of h cap or inverse del is actually del square by dx square plus del square by dy square plus del square by dz square, which collectively represents the probability of finding the electron in all three direction or in all three dimension. This kind of mathematical operator is known as either the Laplacian operator or it is sometimes known as the Hamiltonian operator. So we can write that inverse del is equal to h cap is equal to d square by dx square plus del square by dy square plus del square by dz square. That is what it represents, the probability to find electron in space. So by using the Laplacian or Hamiltonian operator, we try to find out the probability of finding electron in space. So thus we have the equation del square by dx square plus del square by dy square plus del square by dz square psi is equal to minus 8 pi square m upon h square E minus V psi. The left side of this equation represents the probability factor, whereas the right side of this equation represents the energy factor, my dear students. So if we represent the energy factor as a E, this complete right side, if we write it as a E other than the psi, and then for this particular del square by dx square, del square by dy square, and del z, del square z by dz square, del square by dz square, for that if we write h cap, then we can write the same equation as h cap psi is equal to E psi. So this is what it is also known as the Schrodinger's equation, which is given in your book. So all the discussion what we have done just before this was not included in your textbook, but you should understand this. Now in the term, if you look at 8 pi square m upon h square E minus V is equal to psi, m represents the mass of electron, h is known as the Planck's constant, which is having the value 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule into second. E is represented as kinetic energy of electron and V is represented as potential energy of electron. But for minus 8 pi square m upon h square E minus V, we consider it as a E, that is what it represents, the total energy, including the kinetic energy, potential energy, and all the other type of energy related to the electron. So now we should study about the hydrogen atom and Schrodinger's equation. I hope, my dear students, you have understood all about the equation given by Schrodinger. Now, if you have any doubt, you can ask or you can tell me that you do not have any doubt. Dear students, do you understand this? And if yes, at least say yes, understood, sir, so that we can move forward. I need the answer from you, my dear students.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, dear students. So
Yes,
now
sir.
let's understand the hydrogen
Yes, sir.
and Schrodinger's equation.
Yes.
Thank you. The equation of Schrodinger is solved first for hydrogen atom. This equation of Schrodinger, this Schrodinger equation was solved first for hydrogen atom. For example, as if we solve the equation to find the value for x and y, in Schrodinger equation, the value of psi and E are to be found. You know, when we have equations, we solve them and find the value of x and y. Here in this equation, we are going to find the value for psi as well as E. Let us understand it in detail. Psi, for hydrogen, psi is the wave function which contains the information about the electron in any energy level. So wave function is a mathematical function whose value depends upon the coordinates of electron in an atom, and it does not have any physical meaning. Psi square has a physical meaning, and it is called the probability density or electron density, which represents the probability of finding electron in a particular unit area. More is the value of chi square, more is the probability for that unit area to be path for the electron. When chi square approaches 0, that unit area has a minimum or least probability to find the electron, and that particular area is known as node. When Schrodinger's equation is solved for hydrogen, chi is called the atomic orbital. For uni-electron, that means one electron species or one electron system. Orbital is characterized by the quantum numbers n, l and m. N is called the principal quantum number, L is called the azimuthal quantum number or orbital quantum number, and m is called the magnetic orbital quantum number. So my dear students, here for hydrogen, if we look at, we come to know that first the equation of Schrodinger was solved for hydrogen, and by solving this equation of Schrodinger, we can get the value for chi as well as E. When we get the value for chi, we come to know about the electron, where it is present. The chi does not contain any physical meaning, but the chi square has a physical meaning, and it represents the probability of finding electron in a unit area. When we think of chi, we can come to know about the position of the electron into a particular region of hydrogen, or we can say the particular path we can determine. So by collecting or by finding the chi square for all small regions into the hydrogen, we can find out the path or probable path of electron into the hydrogen atom. This chi, which does not have any particular meaning, is also called the orbital for the electron, which represents the probable path for the electron. This chi is characteristic or characterized, is understood in the form of 3 quantum numbers. We will study about these quantum numbers, but right now you should know the names of these quantum numbers. There are 3 quantum numbers. One is known as n, which is known as the principal quantum number. L is known as the azimuthal quantum number or angular momentum quantum number, where m is known as the magnetic orbital quantum number. So we will study about this quantum number in detail into the future. Now we should study about the solutions of Schrodinger's equation for multi-electron species. We have seen that hydrogen and hydrogen-like species like helium +1 or lithium +2 or beryllium +3, they are hydrogen-like species, and whatever we have just studied was the explanation for the uni-electron species. Now what happens, or now we need to study what happens if the Schrodinger's equation is being solved for the multi-electron species. It was comparatively easy to solve the Schrodinger's equation for hydrogen or hydrogen-like species, or one electron or uni-electron or single electron species. But to solve the Schrodinger's equation was very difficult for the human being for multi-electron species, because the equation is very complex. So using the approximation method and by the use of the various computers or modern computers, Schrodinger's equation was solved for multi-electron species. The solution for Schrodinger's